Hello, 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 everybody. This is Robin from Roaming with Rover, and this is Finish It Friday. How is everybody today? I hope you're doing well, and I hope you had lots and lots of time to work on your projects this week. I did not, but I got a little bit of stuff done, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I hope that this has been a great week for you, and the weather has been wonderful, and everything went your way. I had an incredibly full week, and it seems like it's getting fuller and fuller every step of the way. So I am doing the best that I can to get projects worked on. So let's see what we actually got to work on this week. I'm going to say it up front this time, I hope that you'll take a moment to like this video, and please subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us a lot, and it doesn't cost you a penny. So what are we working on? So I've got two main things this week that I worked on. As you guys probably know, I am doing a knit along, and it's a very simple pattern. It's called the Anthology Blanket, and it is by the Underground Crafter. This is her original pattern, and I am just following her exact pattern. And this was a knit along that she did a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I believe. And we're following her exact pattern, her exact schedule, and just exactly the way that she did it. So every 3 weeks we do a block. No, that is not correct. Every week for 3 weeks we do a block, and then the 4th week we're using it as a catch-up week. And what I'm doing on that catch-up week is I am doing a border around the block and sewing, connecting my blocks together. When we first started this, they are 6-inch blocks, and it didn't take me long to figure out that we're making 30 blocks, and 36-inch blocks does not make a very big blankie. And I had not figured that out before we began. And so partway through I went, oh, this isn't gonna work for me. And so we did some figuring, and we did some talking among us that are doing this knit along. And some people said they were going to make bigger blocks, and some people thought they'd make like 2 of each block. And then Miss Pinky Jean, and I will put a link to her channel down below. Miss Pinky Jean said, I'm going to put border around each block. And she did that, and I loved it. So I immediately stole that idea from her. And I've even kind of changed it after my first one. So this is what I did. And I know you guys have seen this before, but I'm going to show you again. So when I finished the block, I did 1 row of single crochet, 1 row of half double crochet, and 1 row of double crochet. And it makes my 6-inch block into a 9-inch block, which makes me very happy. So these were my first 3 finished blocks. First 3 blocks all done together. Now I have not blocked this yet, and I probably ought to do that. I was just thinking I should do that just to see how that's going to work up in a blocked set. Unblocked, this is about 27 inches. Now, since this is complete, we have done this square. This is the front. Yep, I've got little stitch markers on the front. We've done this square. I like that one. And I decided to try something a little different. When I finished it, I did the single crochet all the way around in the color of the square, because when I was using the other color, I've only got 1 skein of the other color, and that's also the same color that I want to use for my border when I'm done. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do it this way, and then I won't use up quite as much of my border color. So, and I liked it. I kind of just gave it a finished look on this. And then on my extra week, then I will use that other color all the way around. And who knows, I may get to a point where I decide to use the whole color, all 3 of the extra colors in the same color. This is a sampler blanket, so I can do whatever I want with this thing, right? And then this is the other block that I have done with this. And this is it. And I think I messed up and did an extra row because I lost count. I was done, but you can't even tell. Yep, right here, this block is a little big. I was done and I thought I needed to do another round, so I kept going. And there's a little mistake there. There's mistakes in every one of these. I don't care. I am learning knitting stuff with this blanket. And so there are mistakes in every one of these blocks. And what I am not doing is tearing back on this particular project. It is not important enough of a project to be tearing out rows of knitting and fighting with that. If this were a more important project, then I would absolutely be doing that. How on earth did I mess that up? Good Lord. There's a lot of mistakes in this block. Oh dear Lord, don't anybody look closely at this one. So, got these two done, and then we'll have one more block. Actually, now that I think about it, these two blocks will be at the end of this, because this is going to be five blocks per row. So I do need to finish these two up and get them on that. And probably I'll put the edging on this and block it, and then I will block this, and then I will connect everything together, because it's going to be easier to block it like this than in the stripes. Now that I kind of have a better idea of the plan that I'm doing. But I'm liking it, even though this one is full of mistakes. So that's what's going on with that. And I like the colors. As you can tell, this color and this color were add-ons. The original colors in this project were the pumpkin, the goldenrod, cranberry, and this multicolor, which I think was called Harvest Spice or something awesome like that. And it was all of those colors. And then when I thought I was going to be making 2 of each square, I thought I'm going to need more yarn. And so I picked out those other 2 colors. But now that I'm not, but I had already made this. So anywho, I ended up with 5 colors, and it's fine. It's fine. That's why I'm thinking maybe I will, I don't know what I'm going to do. Who knows? But that's what I'm doing for now. That's what I'm doing for now. And I like it. I still like it. It's going to be wild colors. This is going to be very much a throw in the car, take with you, picnic blanket type thing. It's not going to be huge, but with those added squares, with those added around the squares, it's going to be a nice size. So that's that. And I am using 2 different sizes of knitting needles, which is odd. These are from my Knitter's Pride. These are my Knitter's Pride, what do you call that? Where you can, interchangeable. My Knitter's Pride interchangeable hook set. And I'm using a 4.5 US 7, and I'm using a 4.0 US 6, because when I am using the original colors, I'm using the larger hook, but when I'm using the add-on colors, they crochet bigger crochet. They knit up bigger, and so I had to go down a hook size to get them to meet gauge. And as you can tell, this thing is way monster big compared to the other ones. So I absolutely have to go down a hook size in order to meet gauge on those other 2 colors. And it's the exact same yarn. The only difference is the original yarn was, and it's Hirschner's 8 that I'm using, but the original yarn is colors that are there. Oh my gosh, what is it? I've got it right here. It is Antiquity. So, but it says it's the same weight and everything. And the other is just the basic Hirschner's worsted 8. It should be exactly the same. It's just a different color palette. but it absolutely works up differently. And it's the same because originally I had grabbed my kind of cream, kind of white, and it works up much thinner. It is definitely thinner. The white, the Hirschner's Worsted 8 white is much thinner than any of the other colors. And I have found that all the time. I mean, I've always known that to be the case. So whenever I'm using the white, I never mix their white with anything else. If I'm doing a white, it has to be just white. I can't mix it with anything else. It's very thin, and I don't know why, but it is. And that's the only one of their yarns, of the Worsted 8 yarns, that I have found to be like that to be that much thinner than any of the, and maybe it's something to do with adding the colors and adding the dyes. I know I've showed you this before, but isn't this darling, this cup? It says, if I can't take my yarn, I'm not going. One of my grands made this for me for Christmas last year, and I just love it, love it, love it. She's got one of those, those Cricut machines, I think they're called, and she made that for me, and I love it. I take it everywhere. And I'm afraid I'm going to leave it somewhere, so I'm afraid to take it sometimes, but I love it. And it keeps things really good, hot or cold, so I really do like to use it. Okay, the other thing I worked on this week, the only other thing I worked on this week, as you know, Miss Dana from Dana's Wanderlust Crochet is spearheading another project for us. Go Dana, she's always got these amazing ideas, and I get sucked right up into them with her. So she is doing a spring square swap, and in my mind, we are making a friendship quilt. So we are, it's hashtag square shop, hashtag friendship quilt. And again, she just put out a really great video explaining the whole thing. And now is the time to get signed up if you want to participate. All you got to do is send her an email and she'll put you on the list. But I am going to put the link to the video explaining the whole thing down below. You don't have to be you don't have to be a YouTuber to participate, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So what we're doing basically is we are making squares. Any design you want, you're going to make 12 squares of the same design, same pattern, and we're going to mail off 11 of them. You'll have a list of people you're going to mail to. You're going to mail them off, and so to 11 different people, and then you will receive back 11 different squares, and then you'll connect those squares together, and you'll have what I'm calling a friendship blanket. And so I just think that's just the coolest idea ever. Of course, I was not clever enough to think this up. Miss Dana did. And so you pick out any square you want, any weight of yarn you want to use. The only restriction is that it cannot be animal fiber because of allergies. You might want to think about it being a washable thing so that all of the squares are washable. It's not a rule, but it would be nice. And I am also, when I'm sending mine, I'm going to send off, and normally when I give a present to somebody, I send a copy, the label. We won't be able to do this because we're sending it to so many different people, but I'm just going to put a little note on, a little note card saying, hey, this was made from mandala, whatever this is called. I guess it's just mandala. And the washing instructions are machine wash and dryable. So it's mandala yarn, it is 100% acrylic, and it's machine washable and dryable. Just a little, even if it's just a sticky note inside of each one of them. And that way they know, what you can do with my square. And I think that's just a nice little touch when you're sending those off. And then we mail them off to each person, and then when they get them, they connect the squares together, and they've got a nice little throw size blankie. That again, friendship quilt. So I had this in my stash, and I grabbed, I didn't even have to bring the other one with me. I have 2 of these. Isn't that beautiful color? And this one, I cannot for the life of me say the name. It's Shimira, no clue. That's the name. That's the name. Okay, so these are the colors that are left. And this one has one of those things on the side so you can see how the color works, the colorway works on that. So I went from the center on this one. Now I had 2 of them, and I'm hoping there is enough to do all 12 of my squares. I've got 3 done already. I easily have enough to do 3 more because I know I haven't used half of this skein. I should weigh it. I wish I'd have weighed it before I started this today, but I've got 3 complete skeins done. And my first one, it was funny because, you know, I don't color control at all, but I was interested to see how this was going to work up. So this was my first square, and it was mostly this mustard, and then it just barely started into that green color. And I thought, oh, that is a really pretty square. I like the way that color worked up. And then my second square, you can see that green got more prominent, and then it started working up. You can tell there's that green, and then, or sort of olive, and then the green got darker and it went into that pretty blue. There's the green getting darker and it went into that blue, and I thought, oh, that's very pretty. That's a beautiful square. And then that dark blue, that pretty dark blue, worked itself into sort of a purpley rust color. Yeah, it's kind of a purple, sort of rust color. It's kind of hard to see colors on this thing sometime, but it's very, very pretty. And the next color is going to be it's getting into the pinks. I'll pull this out a little bit so you can see. There's working its way into the pinks. So I'm loving the colors on this. And I have always said I don't like mandala yarn because I don't like the sharp color changes. But in this, you don't even notice it. It's almost as if I had color controlled this thing for the color changes to be the way they're working up. It just happens that they're right at the edges. Now, I think if I looked very, very closely, no, on this one, the color changes are right at the edges. And I think there was one, yeah, on this one right here. There's a color change right here at this spot, but it's not drastic. So that does not bother me at all. So I think in a project like this color change isn't bothering me. I think where I notice those color changes is in a wearable, where it's like right there's a color change, and it's like from hot pink to orange, or hot pink to a color like this. You know, if in fact, like I've seen it go from hot pink to this kind of color. I can't handle that. And so that's why I shy away from the mandala yarn. But in this project, I really, really like the way it's working up. And even that little color change right there doesn't bother me at all. And it wasn't until I went looking for it that I even noticed it. So this project has given me a new appreciation for the mandala. And I do have, not a lot, I probably have 6 or 8 skeins. This is the brightest, and that's why I chose this one, because I really liked these colors, and I only had 2 skeins. I thought, well, this would be a good way to use this up. The other colors that I have are much more muted, browns and beiges, you know, my normal colors. And so, but it makes me not afraid to use that. So I'm much more likely to grab those now and use them in maybe even in a sweater, or something like this, an over sweater that's kind of a longish over sweater. So I think I would maybe not be afraid even to use that, even with those color changes in there. So that's kind of cool that this project has given me a new look on this particular yarn. But anyway, that's the mandala. I'm sure I'm going to get 3 more out of this, and then that'll get me, because I've got 2 skeins, and then that'll get me all 12 out of those 2 skeins, which is really kind of cool to find out. Worst case, if I have to break into one of those other colorways, I'll keep that for mine. So mine will be a little bit different than everybody else's. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Got to have them done and ready to mail by May 1st. And this is what, the middle of March, or this is February, into March, or towards, I can't even think. March. So we still have all of March and all of April. So there's roughly 8 weeks, 9, 10, 11. Even if you do one a week, you're still going to make that deadline at this point. My original goal was to do 2 a week, and I've already got 3 done. So I'm golden. But I wanted to get mine, I was going to start them at Christmas. Well, we know how that goes. But this week I needed to get going on this to see. Mostly I wanted to try my my pattern, because this is called a mitered square. You work it like this. And I wasn't sure, never done a pattern like that before. And I really wanted to see how that was going to work up. Gosh, I just really like the way this looks. Isn't that pretty? Yeah. And it's way easier than I thought it was going to be. Way easier. And it's got a little bit of design. You can't really see it here, but there's some front post double crochets through here, right in there. And that's what gives it that ridge. Isn't that pretty? And then, so it's got a little bit of design elements in it, and those are easy. So this, I've never done a mitered square before, and I had wanted to learn how to do that. And that's why I chose this pattern. There's a million free patterns out there for blocks. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do that one. Oh, I'm gonna do that one. Oh no, I'm gonna do that one. Like 50 times. And finally settled on this one when I saw that. I also thought it would be kind of easy to make it. In fact, this block on her original pattern is a 12-inch block, so I just kind of stopped when it gets to the size that it is. So it was easy to make the size I wanted it to be. And look at my little guy. How cute is he? Is he not just adorable? Yeah, so cute. He's my tape measure. So this is what I use to measure my little blocks with, and then you squeeze his little belly and it pops back together. But isn't that precious? Look at that face. He is so cute. I just love it. I got this last year at the Yarny Social. So darn cute. Hello. Hello everybody out there. What are you doing? Anyway. Yeah. So he's my buddy, and I use him to measure my blocks with. So anyway, so cute. And so that's it. That's all I've worked on this week. I did these 3 blocks and got my block done for my knitting. It does not take me nearly as long to do this as it does my knitting block. I will tell you that right now. My crocheting is much faster. So see, I think this is working up real nice. I like the colors. Very pretty. Anywho, so that's these are my blocks for the exchange. So if you happen to get into my group, here you go. So all you have to do to get into the group is to email Miss Dana, and I will have her email address down below in the description box. I'm going to put the link to her video explaining it, but I also will put the link to her email address. And all you have to do is email her, tell her you want to be in the Spring Square Block Exchange, and she will put you in it. But it's a good idea to go watch her video, and it gives you all the particulars. It'll probably answer 90% of your questions. If you do have a question about the exchange, you can ask me. I think I can probably answer most of your questions. You can ask Dana. You can come and watch us on Wednesdays during the Rad Girls Live. We usually can answer your questions there. I am using my ugly, what is this thing called? Clover, the ugly clover. It's not the Amore, it's the, I don't know what to call it, but it's the ugly mustard colored ones. I just wish these came in other colors because they're the best hook ever. I like these much better than the Amore. I cannot use the Amore, and I know people love them. I bought the whole set. I cannot use them. This is the G hook. I went down a hook size from what it recommended. It recommended an H 5-point, but I found it to be too loose in my stitching on this. So, and this is a 3-weight. This mandala is a 3-weight, and I went down a hook size, and I just like the way the fabric is working up on it. I wanted to talk to you about a book that I read, and I was going to say this week, but it's taken me almost a month to, it's so overdue. I got this from the library, and I am blessed because our library does not charge late fees. And I'm usually really good about, if I can't get it read in time, I usually just return it. But I was loving this book so much, and it's a tiny little book, but even with that, I couldn't get it read in time. And it's called All Wound Up. The Yarn Harlot Writes for a Spin. This gal, her name is Stephanie Pearl McPhee. Stephanie Pearl McPhee. She is so funny. This is her third book, and I'm sure she's got more books, but she's a knitter. Now, don't let that turn you off, because mostly she's writing about yarn and dealing with, and any place she says knit, just exchange it for the word crochet, because we all deal with the same stuff. Families who expect us to cook dinner when we want to play with our yarn, and us taking these, our projects out in public and people giving us weird looks. And, you go into the yarn store to buy a hook that we need and coming out with a whole bag full, it's funny. And most of it is extremely relatable. And, some of it's mixed in with funny stories about her life and her kids and her family, and how working with yarn, working with our craft gets us through the good times and the bad times. And it's a funny book. It's well written, and she's a funny writer. So if you're into reading this, I recommend this book, All Wound Up, and any other book by her that you can get your hands on. This was written in 2011, so it's a little bit older, and I cannot even find the name of her other books in her. It's so funny. It says, Stephanie McPhee lives with her very patient husband, 3 charming daughters, in an untidy, wool-filled house in Toronto, Canada. They call all yarn wool, where she avoids doing the laundry and knits whenever she gets a minute. Plays with yarn. She is the author of, the other books are called Yarn Harlot and Free Range Knitter. She's got a blog, www.yarnharlot.ca. I'm going to look that up. Highly recommend. If you could, maybe you can get this on one of the podcasts and listen to it. I don't know. I was not able to. My library didn't have it. I go to my library first and look these things up and see if I can listen to them. And if not, then I check them out and then try to get it read in a reasonable amount of time. I loved this book. So if you get a chance, All Wound Up, or any other book by her. So that's my recommendation for that. And again, hope that you'll join us in the Square Shop, the Spring Square Swap, and come and join us on Sunday mornings and listen to us during the knit along. Even if you don't knit and you just want to join in, and I've got a live every Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific, where we talk about this. Try to keep it to about an hour, and then what has been happening is we close down that and then pop back up for a little live sit and stitch. And we've been doing that the last few weeks, and it's been working really well. Having a wonderful time. Hope you enjoy some playing with yarn time, and hope everything is going great in your world. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.